Hi, everyone. This is Amy Waninger. I am coming to you live from Influence 2022. This is the National Speakers Association annual meeting. And let me just tell you a little bit before I get started. Let me tell you a little bit about why, first of all, why my lighting's so terrible, why my sound is so bad, and why I look like I'm exhausted. For the last 3 days, I have been in Nashville, Tennessee, attending this annual meeting of the National Speakers Association. National Speakers Association is a group, it's an organization, association of speakers, of course, professional speakers, and the organization exists to elevate the profession of speaking. Now, you may not be a speaker and you may be thinking, why are you telling me this, Amy? Okay, glad you asked. Here's why I'm telling you this. First of all, I want you to let me know in the comments, what is your profession? Not your industry, your profession. This is an important thing to know. It's an important distinction to make because many of us work in industries that are not necessarily aligned to our profession. For example, your profession might be human resources, but you may work in the tech industry. Your profession might be tech, but you work for a marketing firm. Your profession might be marketing, but your industry is healthcare. See how I'm thinking about this? Now, if you are a manager, I want you to think about the people on your team and their professions. It's so important to have community as a profession, not just as an industry. And I'm going to give you just a few reasons for that. Number one, when you have community as a profession, you are able to share ideas with people across industries. So what's working in my industry may not be working in your industry, and we can learn more about that. The other thing this helps, though, is when you have a profession, a professional association, when you have a strong professional community, meaning a community of people in your same profession, you are able to share ideas, but you're also able to reinforce the ethical guidelines and the highest standards and the stories and the culture of your profession. So this week, I've been learning all about the values of National Speakers Association and how those values need to show up in my work so that I can elevate myself as a professional, but also elevate the speaking profession as a whole. Now think about that. If I'm held to high ethical standards as a speaker, you know that you're going to be getting a better experience working with me as a speaker. But this translates into other professions as well. Nobody wants to work for very long, at least, with an unethical accountant or an unethical attorney or an unethical cybersecurity expert, right? These ethics are really important parts of being a professional. Now, think about this for your folks. How do you convey the ethics of your profession? How do you convey the community of your profession? How do you convey the importance of maintaining those standards as a profession? And my advice to you is find the conference for your profession and send people to it. You don't have to send them all to the same conference. You don't have to send them all every year, but have an intention around this. How are you exposing the professionals on your team to the standards, ethics, stories, and culture of the profession as a whole? Do they understand the history of what came before? Do they understand what's expected of them now and in the future? And do they understand how they can rise to the occasion of new challenges? This is going to be important for every profession going forward, and it always has been. My next question for you is, if you're not a manager, can you hook into a professional community either through meetups, through conferences, through associations? This is a great way to network. It's a great way to find out what's available to you in the marketplace. It's a great way to find out how your employer stacks up against other employers, but it's also a good just grounding in what should you be doing to show up as a professional in your chosen profession. Now, community is really important too, so let's talk just a little bit about that. While I've been here at the National Speakers Association, I've noticed that there are a lot of different groups, subgroups within the Speakers Association. And if you are part of an organization, I always talk to companies about, well, what are your employee resource groups look like? How are you showing up for folks so they have a community within a community, especially if they don't see themselves broadly represented in your organization? Well, associations are the same way. And here's how you can make that work. So think about whatever association you belong to. There's probably a subgroup, right? So if you're, let's say you're an insurance agent, I know for a fact there's a subgroup of Black insurance agents. It's called NIA, the National Association of National African American Insurance Association. And there's also LIA, which is the Latino community within the insurance space. So think about, within the profession, what are some of the subgroups or what are some of the sub-associations or niche associations where you might find an even stronger sense of community. But if you're in a huge organization like NSA or the CPA Society or the CPCU Society or something like that, think about once you go to these conferences, can you start meetups at the conference with the people who may feel like outsiders at first? Maybe it's the people who are the first time to the conference. Maybe, it's an ethnic or a racial minority within that group, right? Somebody, a group that feels like they're not as represented. Here at NSA, we have a group for Black NSA. We have Rainbow NSA, which is the LGBTQ IA plus speakers and our allies that meet. I've been to Black NSA as an ally. There's a young professionals like the millennials group. There's even a nurses of NSA, so for nurses who speak professionally. There's even a group of people that rally around that they all love cigars, and they get together and they smoke cigars and they share stories and they share resources and they give each other advice. So whatever the thing is that you love, try to start a meetup or try to start a subgroup within your larger association. This does a few things. One, it helps kind of when new people come in, it helps them find like their crew, right, in the group. But it also helps ground you and get you connected to people. Then you start to branch out your connections. You start to expand your network into more areas of the association, more places that you might be able to serve, but also others that can serve you as well. So that's my advice this week. I'm sorry for the noise. I'm sorry for the weird time. I'm sorry for the bad light. Sorry for rambling just a little bit, but I didn't want to let the moment pass to say what an amazing and affirming experience it is to be among people who share your profession, who share your values, who hold you to ethical standards, who help create a culture in your profession, but also help give you a sense of community. Sometimes it can be very lonely in the work that any of us do, right? We may feel like we're on an island somewhere if we're the only CPA in a company or we're the only, whatever it is. Go find your folks and connect with them and be intentional about connecting with them. Be intentional about bringing other people in. Because at the end of the day, community is what keeps us together. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you joining me for this very weird and awkward Lead at Any Level live this week. And I'd love to see your comments about how you're going to put this to action. How are you going to connect and expand your network and build community right where you are? Thanks so much. Have a great week. Oh, and join me on Thursday. My guest this Thursday on the Including You podcast will be Ralph Smithers Jr. Ralph Smithers Jr. is somebody I know because I was part of the CPCU community when I was working in insurance full time. And he's going to talk about community outreach. So there's a little bit of a theme this week, but he's going to talk about community outreach and how Encova Insurance is really leading in a lot of ways in the Columbus, Ohio business community and broader in Columbus, Ohio, to really expand opportunity, advance diversity and inclusion in the whole city, not just within the confines of the Encova offices. So you won't want to miss that. That happens Thursday at noon Eastern, right here where you're watching this video, or you can catch it later on my blog or my YouTube channel. It's Lead at Any Level on YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you very soon.